The COVID-19 pandemic has affected the way our world does business. And by business, we don't just mean economic transactions. We mean business in the way we live our everyday lives. This includes how our children attend school.
Due to the pandemic, the everyday classroom has shifted from the brick and mortar settings of school buildings to online video conferencing platforms accessed by students through their computers at home. This is where companies saw an opportunity, a way to get in on the virtual classroom business. And this is where our ethical dilemma begins.
Thank you for your attention. The following presentation is brought to you by Group 6 of the Ethics and Social Responsibility course. The ethical dilemma in question started when the Miami-Dade Public School Superintendent Alberto Caravallo accepted a donation for his nonprofit organization. The problem is that it appears as though the donation was in exchange for the contract.
The donation came from a company called K-12, which provides online programs for public schools. This company was slated to become the sole provider of online education for the entire Miami-Dade County school system. The superintendent was quick to justify that the reason he accepted the donation was not in exchange for the contract, but rather because it would provide funds to reward teachers. The donation to Carvalho's nonprofit organization may have never been discovered had the platform created by K-12 worked well. However, there were so many problems with the platform that most teachers and students were unable to use it. The problems with the platform brought with it a new level of scrutiny. The donation then became the target of an investigation.
The timing of the donation is most likely the source of the controversy, since it was made before the contract was finalized. So the question here is, did the public school superintendent act ethically when he agreed to receive the donation while a contract was still pending?
Supporting a school supply drive is familiar turf for Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. Being investigated by the school district's inspector general, though, is new territory for the leader of Miami-Dade Public Schools.
I'm here to tell you that we welcome the scrutiny of any good deed. Why shouldn't we? Particularly a good deed, a gift, an investment, a recognition in the hardest working individuals anywhere in the country, our teachers.
Remember all the trouble with the K-12 My School Online distance learning system? The K-12 company gave the nonprofit group Carvalho Chairs, the Foundation for New Education Initiatives, a $1.7 million gift. Carvalho said that money would be given to teachers who completed their training on the new platform before the first day of school, $100 for each teacher. But now the Inspector General, Mary Cagle, is investigating the donation as questions were raised by school board members about the propriety of a private company under contract to the district making that sort of donation.
The process and the openness and transparency should always be the constants, and that's something I support.
Cagle sent this letter to the school board chair and to Carvalho on Wednesday, saying the donation raised some concerns that the Office of Inspector General believes should be reviewed.
I trust, respect immensely the integrity, the objectivity, the professionalism of Ms. Mary Cagle. And I know that as she reviews the process that led to a gift to our teachers in recognition of the hard work they did during difficult times, I know she and her organization will reach the right conclusions.
So where is the money now? Carvalho says it's waiting to be dispersed to teachers in the form of $100 gift cards. As far as the IG's investigation, it's just beginning, so we'll have to wait and see where it goes.
What's at issue here is the appearance of wrongdoing in the eyes of the stakeholders. Specifically, did Mr. Carvalho intentionally deceive the public by claiming the donation was meant to help teachers? To better understand why this is an issue, we will use the Potter box process for moral reasoning.
First, we will once again define the problem. Did the school superintendent act unethically by accepting a donation while the contract with the company was still pending?
When it comes to values, there are several factors to discuss. Many of them fall under the professional category, which is to be expected as this is an ethical dilemma which involves a professional setting. We will begin with the impact of the situation. Will the donation truly help the teachers? In other words, does the mean justify the end? There's also a professional conflict here for the superintendent. The fact that K-12 was willing to donate so much money should have raised a red flag about their intentions of becoming Miami-Dade County's sole business provider. Also, should Mr. Carvalho have known better considering his position and years of experience, not just as superintendent, but as a public figure in the local community? Another professional value in question is the public's right to know. As we have already mentioned, the superintendent is a public figure, and his actions are the interest to many people in the community, which means those stakeholders would need to know what type of deals are being made and how it will affect all of them.
Next, we turn to the principles that could be applied to this situation. Two philosophers and their ethical approaches come to mind. One of them is Immanuel Kant and his categorical imperative concept, and the second is John Stuart Mills and his theory of utilitarianism. We will discuss why we chose these approaches in detail later in this presentation.
Finally, we will take a look at the stakeholders involved, or to those whom the superintendent owes loyalty. Naturally, teachers, students, and parents are some of the key stakeholders, but we must also consider the school board and the nonprofit organization at the center of this investigation.
We will now break down the two philosophical approaches applicable to this case, starting with Kant's categorical imperative concept. According to Kant, our decisions should be based on whether they can be universalized or made into a universal law, meaning the decision could be universally accepted. In this case, if receiving money in exchange for favoritism was universally accepted, then Carvalho's actions could be justified. But can Carvalho's decision to receive money in exchange for favoritism to a person or organization seeking a contract be accepted as a universal law? Obviously, the answer is no. If it were acceptable universally to receive money in exchange for favoritism toward a bid on a contract, this would cast doubt on the whole contractual process and lead to all manner of underhanded behavior, which would undermine granting contracts based on merit. Merit would be irrelevant.
Kant also argues that we have a universal moral obligation to treat people as ends in themselves, never merely as the means to one's own end. This is known as the ends principle, which implies that we should not use others as a way to achieve our own personal goals. This approach could be harder to argue since in this situation, it appears that Mr. Carvalho did in fact use others to get his way. From the very beginning, he claimed that the reason he accepted the donations was so that he could reward his teachers. To conclude, Kant would have not approved of Carvalho's decision to accept the donation.
The second philosopher we will discuss is John Stuart Mill and his ethical theory of utilitarianism. According to Mill's ethical theory, actions are right if they promote happiness and wrong if they result in unhappiness. Under this school of thought, our actions should seek the greatest happiness for most people. Based on Mill's theory, the superintendent would be justified in receiving the donation because the teachers would benefit, therefore promoting happiness.
Considering all the factors in this ethical dilemma, there are several things Mr. Caravallo could have done to avoid the backlash surrounding this donation. A good start would have been to consult with the school board first to make sure no policies would be violated. He also could have presented the donation as a win-win for all, providing dedicated online platform for the school system, while at the same time rewarding the teachers for their hard work. Most importantly, asking the questions, "How will this look?" might have prompted him to avoid the appearance of wrongdoing. In short, if it has the potential to look questionable, don't do it.
This has been a presentation by Group 6 of the Ethics and Social Responsibility course. We hope you learned something from it. Thank you for your time and attention.